You're with Julian on the Brown Notes and a celebration. Welcome home, Julian Assange. I'm a bit late on the table on this. I have posted many times about Julian Assange on this show and on YouTube over the years about his cruel and unusual punishment. And after criticising Anthony Albanese in my previous post just about an hour ago, well done to Anthony Albanese for doing something that so many gutless Australian politicians have failed to do, which was secure the release of Julian Assange. The people on the populist right that claim to be supportive of, this kind of thing in general have been noticeably completely reticent on the idea of ever bringing Julian Assange home, an Australian citizen whose crime was to reveal to the world that the American military murdered several people in Baghdad on camera, and that was a 2010 famous murder video from a helicopter gunship gunning down like unarmed civilians in Baghdad. A crime for which only he and Chelsea Manning, who gave him that footage, have ever been prosecuted for. Not the people in the gunship shooting the people, not the people who told the people in the gunship to go out there and behave in that manner, but the people that told the world that they were actually murdering civilians. The way that Anthony Albanese has done this, and I've been very critical of him in many areas, but is by actually going behind the scenes and not shouting your head off publicly, which is exactly what our last Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, would have done, which is to blather off in front of the 24-hour news cycle and destroy every relationship connected with it and blow the whole thing up. Albo, no one saw this coming, and Julian Assange has praised him for his work here. He's done amazing to get Julian Assange across the line and I believe back into Canberra. A 15-year journey of hell. Julian Assange is the most important journalist this century. Where's his Pulitzer Prize? Not that the award would mean much, I don't feel. He has never been accused of revealing anything that isn't true. Let that sink in. The reason for the relentless persecution of Julian Assange is the threat of a good example, as I put in many pieces over the course of the last 10 years. They wanted the punishment of Assange to be so brutal and so excessive that it would deter future whistleblowers. Happily, in at least one instance, Edward Snowden, it taught whistleblowers that they will be strung up in public for as long as possible and effectively tortured as much as possible and have their lives ruined as much as possible in order to stop other people doing stuff like this. And I believe the American government has been on to the right wing in Australia already, saying that they're very disappointed that he has been regarded as a hero on his return home. Cruel and unusual punishment. So do you remember the sexual assault allegations in Sweden? That's how this all started. Journalists, including journalists from the Guardian newspaper and from the liberal media world, were bang on about this isn't about persecuting Julian Assange for releasing videos of American soldiers murdering civilians. This is about him being wanted in Sweden for sexual assault against two women. Basically not wearing a condom, which was considered possibly rape. This was held over his head, and every sort of well-meaning journalist used that as a battering ram against him for years. You'll notice as soon as he moved into the prison system, every last one of them forgot about this and never mentioned it again. Funny that, isn't it? He was hassled by Sweden for years and living in a house in England where they kept trying to extradite him. He then went, under de facto house arrest, he then went in to claim asylum in the Peruvian embassy for years, living in one room, his health deteriorating, When he was finally forced out due to political pressure against the Peruvian government, he was taken to one of the worst prisons in England. I think the prison where the guys that actually decapitated a British soldier on a British street in London, where they are. One of the worst prisons in the UK. This is a journalist? Why is he in there with people that have committed crimes against humanity? He's accused of releasing footage of murder. It should be illegal not to release footage someone's given you of murder. And Chelsea Manning was held in jail for years in solitary confinement, which itself is cruel and unusual punishment that can lead to serious mental health problems, and for a long time held naked because they said that she was a risk of suicide. And she has come out the other end of that a strong hero, just like Julian Assange is. And the American government under Obama, who promised not to go hard after whistleblowers, under Obama, under Biden, and even Trump, who flirted with WikiLeaks, and I did have a go over and over again at WikiLeaks for actually supporting the Trump agenda before the first election. They kind of had this symbiotic relationship. And I was saying, you really think these people, this is a Republican Party that asked for Julian Assange to be assassinated, and you're going into bed with them. I think that's all split off now. But they never stopped trying to get Julian Assange. A deal was made in private with Anthony Albanese and the American government that, what was the final deal? He pled guilty to an espionage charge of conspiring to obtain and disclose classified US national defense documents in return for a sentence of time served. And famously, he had that hearing on an island in the middle of nowhere because he was too scared to go to the USA in case they just reneged on the whole thing. Espionage Act, conspiring to obtain and disclose classified US national defense documents. The people that committed murder have never been prosecuted. Julian Assange is a hero. Julian Assange is the most important journalist this century. The impact of WikiLeaks and what it stands for cannot be understated. It was like the watcher over the whole Iraq-Afghan war period, where our governments were in bed with some very dodgy, illegal stuff, and the treatment of him by just about everyone. If Anthony Albanese, I did the other piece on his failure on Gaza, but the fact that he has stood up here won't be forgotten. And you can tell the journalists that are on your side or at the enemy, they'll be the ones now throwing shit at Julian Assange. They'll be the ones bringing up that sexual assault, which everyone conveniently forgot about as soon as they got him inside prison. No one ever tried to prosecute him after that, did they? He has been such an impactful hero. It's inevitable that a person putting themselves in the firing line like that will have every aspect of their personality and character destroyed by the press over and over. The press aren't on our side. The Guardian newspaper virtually handed him over. And they would have done the same with Snowden, I believe. None of these people are on our side. But people like Julian Assange, he's never been accused of saying anything or releasing anything that wasn't 100% true. And every time that he has released anything showing great malfeasance or terrible behaviour, those people have virtually never been prosecuted. So, Vale to Julian Assange, a hero of mine, and welcome home, and I hope you have a great rest of your life. I do not doubt for a second that they won't stop hounding you. They will forever, just because of what you did, which makes it a fantastic thing what you did, but they will never let you go, unfortunately. So just try and enjoy the rest of your life as best you can.